Yo, g'day guys, welcome to the latest episode of Beyond Tape, where we chat with rad people doing rad things in the mountain bike industry. For this episode, we are catching up with our local legend, hometown hero, Baxter Mailwald. He's had a bit of a rough start to the season, so we chat about that and what's been going on the last year. Before we jump into that, let me mention the sponsors, the supporters that keep this podcast going. First up, we have Trek. Trek makes some of the most raddest bikes in the market. Absolutely frothing on my Slash. Now, they've also gone online, so if you wish to get one of the best bikes around, jump over to their website, trekbikes.com.au, and grab one for yourself. Frank offers some of the best clothes in the market as well. I've been absolutely loving their AirTech jerseys, and man, their pants have lasted for ages. Don't forget to use Beyond the Tape 10 at checkout when checking out their stuff. Fist Gloves make some of the best gloves in the market, and get some unique designs on your hands. Shred Bike Care is the best as well. I mean, really, I only work with people I like to work with and love their products. Their silicone spray is honestly the best I've ever used. Lead Out Sports are the importers for, again, the best tools, the best accessories for your bike ever. I'm loving their smooth lube in the winter. It stays on there for ages, frothing it. Tailored Trails, they are coming into their quiet season, but they are ramping up for the end of the year. So make sure if you are looking to experience Tasmania and the best trails of the country, hit up Tailored Trails and they'll show you good trails and a good time. Dirt Surfers offer custom mud guards for you, so go check out their website, along with Capped Out Caps, who can get some real unique stem caps on your bike. So your bike can be different from the rest, look a bit custom, and, make it a bit unique, which is always rad. As I said, we're chatting with Baxter Mailwald. In this one, we talk about a bunch of stuff, including his latest injury. So as per usual, grab a beer, grab a water, grab a wine, grab whatever makes you happy, and enjoy this podcast. MS Paint.
That's where I'm saying. Yeah.
Sick. Let's jump in.
Sweet.
Baxter Mailwald, welcome back to the podcast for whatever number it is. I think you said number 6.
I'm just going to run with 6. We'll just go with 6. It depends if you count all the ones I do with Jai or not.
True. Yeah. Then
I think we've done 4 just with Jai probably.
I would love to do another one with Jai, but it's like hurting a cat.
Yeah, that guy's too flaky.
He says it's busy, but I don't think
he's always telling me I'm the one that's flaky, but I don't know. I reckon it's probably him.
Well, you're here and he's not, so.
I also have a broken wrist and not much else going on. But yeah, no. To be fair, the last few times that we're meant to do one with Jai and it hasn't happened has been my fault. So
it has, but we're all busy people. It's hard.
We're here now.
What's been happening? I've seen you've been over in New Zealand for a while.
Yeah, what hasn't been happening? When was the last time we did one? That's probably a good spot to start.
Last time I spoke to you was probably like a quick catch up in Maydena.
I had Enduro Jam, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit! Fair bit's happened since then.
And it would have been before that, so probably about a year.
Okay. Well, we don't really need to cover any of the bus situation. I feel like that's been pretty covered.
You had a bus? What bus?
Touchy subject. If you don't know about the bus, go listen to the one I did with you and the one that I did with Dean.
What about the one you did with
podcasters? The main one that talks about the bus is the one I did with Dean, though.
Yeah.
That gives the full backstory for it feels like 3 hours, but it's only like half an hour. But anyway, moving on from that. Since we spoke last in Maydena, I think the week after that, I booked flights to New Zealand.
You had flights booked and you were like leaving the week, I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
Well, like
sweet.
the 1st of January, you bailed, right?
Yeah, during that trip to Maydena, I think I was like kind of keen to go. I tried to go twice, but COVID had shut me down. And it was sort of at that point where like you tell people you're going to do something, and I do this heaps. I'll like happily admit to that. I tell people I'm going to do stuff, and then it just for whatever reason it just never happens. Going to New Zealand was starting to become one of those things where I was like, yeah, I'm going to come over this summer. I'm going to come over this summer. Like telling Jai, telling like Remy and everyone that's over there. I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And I just never come. Um, and then, I tried to go twice during COVID. And like a week or whatever before, like my flights got cancelled. Then I tried to go for Crankworx Rotorua. I had like the MIQ, whatever it was called, like the accommodation sorted, like was going to get that paid for, had my flights booked, had everything booked to like go as a professional athlete that had, special things
Privileges.
to be able to go. Yeah, privileges. And then literally like 2 days before I was supposed to fly, my flights got cancelled, and I couldn't even book another flight if I wanted to. There were just no more flights. So, tried, and then had obviously sold the bus, had some cash. I was in Maydena, and pretty sure it was raining one day, and we were just having a coffee at the cafe, and I was like, "Fuck this!" I'm going to New Zealand. And just right then and there, just booked like the first flight that I could afford, which happened to be on January 1st. So new year, new me. That was pretty much that. It was like, I know that it caused a few of my sponsors some drama. Sorry, Johnny. The fact that like I'd just signed with Lusty, and we were kind of still working through like, small things like what grips I wanted to run, or like what bar bend I liked best or whatever. And then I just pissed off to New Zealand without like really any warning. So they all came back from like Christmas break, and I was like, yo, I'm in Queenstown. And I just like, we can't really do much for you. Luckily we got it all worked out, but January 1st, flew to Queenstown, started a new life. One-way flight.
The one-way flight thing doesn't surprise me at all. But
I only got enough money to book one flight at a time.
Yeah, I rate it. Book flights, worry about everything else later. It's the best.
Yeah.
So is it because like Lusty and stuff just couldn't send you product? Or is it like a conflict with the distributor in New Zealand?
No, it was just like, it was a bit of a mix of things. It's like, obviously international postage of like,
yeah.
If you send like a small item, it's sort of not really worth like, what's the point? But then if you send like a big box, it's like, well, that's going to cost you shitloads. And then also the main issue wasn't necessarily like, it costs a fair bit, which is a pain in the ass. But it's just slow. They just take forever. So they were just like, yeah, sweet, we could send you something, but like, we don't know when it's going to get there. Like once it leaves the warehouse, it's kind of like out of our control. And then with it being like brand new stuff, like you kind of got to, it's a bit dodgy to like not pay like import taxes. And I don't actually even know what I don't have enough information on like what the import taxes and stuff involved coming from Australia to New Zealand, but I'm sure if you were just like constantly posting brand new boxes of stuff from like a distributor to a person, like at some point they're going to be like, hang on a minute. Sorry, Johnny, for all the headache, but they helped me out pretty good still. And we kind of got it all sorted, but would recommend booking a one-way flight to New Zealand. And I probably have to thank Jai just right off the bat. I have to thank Jai heaps for sorting my life out when I got there.
Is that like a low point when Jai Mother is sorting out your life?
No, he's got his shit pretty he had his shit pretty together when I got there.
Yeah, I love that guy, but fuck, he's loose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Jai and Annie and Booker, yeah, would have had a pretty different experience if those three weren't over there. So thanks, guys.
So you didn't have accommodation or anywhere to stay or anything booked, or just the flight?
Had the flight booked, and Annie was going to pick me up from the airport, but then she didn't realize that I was flying on January 1st. So like New Year's Eve, Annie being just going with whatever's happening at that exact moment. On New Year's Eve, she was like, "Oh, I'm actually going away, like to the coast. I'm not sure if I'll be back. I'll let you know." And I was like, so then I called Jai and I was like, "Yo, you reckon you pick me up from the airport? And do you reckon I could stay on your couch for a couple of nights?" And he was like, "Yeah, sweet, no worries." And then Annie didn't get back from the coast for like another 3 days or something. And then I ended up staying on Jai's couch for, I don't know, like a week. And then young Leroy came over as well, which I was supposed to have had something else sorted by the time Leroy arrived, because I was like, we kind of can't have that many people in the house. But luckily, sort of made friends with everyone else in the house pretty quick, and they were like, "Oh yeah, sweet, like whatever. If you need to stay for a bit longer, that's fine." So then I ended up sleeping on a mattress on the floor in the lounge room behind the couch while Leroy stayed on the couch. And then I ended up starting to pay like a little bit of rent to stay in the living room. And then I was like, well, if I'm paying rent, like, then I cleaned out the like storage space underneath the stairs in the basement, like where the laundry was. And I was like, I may as well like make myself a room. So everyone in the house was cool with me doing that. Well, at least they said they were. And yeah, so I moved in under the stairs for like a month, I think it was.
Just full Harry Potter spec. Just
full Harry.
Yeah.
Except Harry Potter had a luxury. He had like a light in his room and a door.
How'd you get in there? Is it like just open space?
It's just like an open space. Just like the stairs were like just went up, and there wasn't like a storage cupboard. It was literally just like a void under the stairs.
It works.
So I put my bed there, and yeah, good to go. Went and bought a little like one of those like square cube like shelving units from Kmart.
Yeah,
you know the ones. And that was like that was my bedroom. So I stayed there for a bit, and then
and Leroy was still on the couch.
No, Leroy only stayed for like a week, and then he moved in with someone else, went to Billy's house or something. But a few other people came and went from the couch. And then when Booker went back to Tassie, which this bit of the trip worked out like so perfectly. Booker went back to Tassie, and he left me with his van, which is like kitted out with a bed and stuff. And I was like starting to get kind of sick from like being under the stairs, just because like such a stuffy, like I cleaned it as best I could, but it's still just like musty kind of zone. So then I ended up moving into Booker's van and just sleeping in the driveway, which was like pretty dialed. And then that only lasted for like a few nights. And then because Booker had left and they were trying to get somebody to move into Dan's old room, which was at Annie's house, then I ended up moving in to Dan's old room. So Dan was like the savior. It was like perfect timing. Like he left, I got his van. I was like, cool, this is me for a bit. And I was like, hang on a minute, double upgrade. I'm moving into a fucking house with a bedroom. So yeah, shout out Dad for helping me cover rent for a month.
I was going to say, like, were you working or like doing anything over there? Or
I was just living off the money from the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I ended up getting a job Drop Cafe. Shout out to Bushy for bringing me on as the barista with zero experience whatsoever. I was like going to drop to get coffee because like I knew the owner and like my friends worked there, and it was like quite a nice little zone just to hang out. I just kind of ended up spending so much time in there that I was like, "You want to pay me to be here?" Got a job there a couple of days a week, which like pretty much that covered like a bit of my rent and some food, and then Dad like loaned me some money to cover the rest of my rent, which meant that I could stay in New Zealand with like the intention of like progressing as a rider, which was that was my goal from the start. To go there and not have to really work and be able to just like go to the gym 2-3 days a week, do my intervals, ride my bike heaps, shoot whatever content I wanted to shoot, go to whatever event I need to go to, and not have to worry about working. And now I'm dead broke.
So you were full pro life over there, right?
I was a pro without the paycheck.
So dirtbag?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, kind of like it definitely worked. I think my riding in the last, like, especially after Crankworx Rotorua, when I had just a month of like, I can just go hard as fuck because I don't really have much coming up that I need to, I can't get injured for or whatever, or I could like have a small injury and I had time to recover before Cairns or whatever. So as soon as I got back from Crankworx Rotorua, I was just like, sweet, now's my time to like just go ham on like learning new shit. Like that was when I flipped Dream. That was when I started learning like no foot cans. That was when like, in my opinion, I was like riding my downhill bike the best. Like that last week, like everything kind of fell into place, or not last week, last like 3 weeks, everything kind of fell into place and it all clicked. And I was like, holy fuck, like this is actually paid off. But at the same time, it's definitely like, from my perspective, being there helped me like progress in the ways I wanted to. And on the other side of the coin, from like an outside perspective, at least from what I've interacted with people anyway, it seems like now I'm a professional athlete and I'm getting paid, which is sweet, but I'm not.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. I mean, yeah, like last year helped me out a little bit and Canyon helped me out a little bit, but it's like it's not like a sustainable income, put it that way.
One thing I just wanted to touch on before we move on too far, but did your results from Crankworx Roto give you a bit of kick in the ass as well? Because you were like qualified 10th in the downhill and did a bunch of pretty good results, right?
Yeah, I'm glad they look good on paper. I don't know. From like the Crankworx Summer Series, I learnt heaps. Like I rocked up to slalom for the Summer Series and was like, oh, well, my bike is not set up for slalom, even though I thought it was. And like I qualified for the downhill for the Summer Series. I qualified third, like a second behind Loris Verger or whatever. And I was like, holy fuck, like I am riding pretty good at the moment, turns out. And then, yeah, that kind of was like a good little learning experience. And then I got to Rotorua like relatively confident, I suppose. And yeah, qualified good in the downhill. Then my race run was just put that in the bin. Like nothing really went to plan. Like my goggles never fog up ever, but they fogged up like whilst I was in the gate, and I was like, in hindsight, I should have just taken them off. Like I had a mud guard on, like I should have just ripped them off and would have probably done better for me. But and then I just overrode the top bit of the track, even though I was going way too fucking fast. off the camera, like all the bits of the track you couldn't see, obviously on camera. I was just cruising, but nah. The whole top bit of the track until I crashed, I was realistically going way too fucking fast and pushing way too hard for like how little I could see. And then I crashed. Just there's like a chute right before you like cross the road where the big jumps are, like basically right before the actual camera, like the live stream starts. And then from there I was like, cool, all right, just don't be a dickhead, make it to the bottom without crash. Like I would hate to crash twice. But yeah, that was like just real random. I think I kind of figured out roughly like why. I think it was because I'd like tightened my goggle straps up so that my goggles wouldn't move at all on my face, which meant there was like no air circulation. And then on top of that, our race run was like later in the day than we'd ever ridden for practice. So I was dropping in at like 5 o'clock. So I guess it's like the humidity or condensation or whatever was just like higher. And then because I'd done a proper warm up, I was warm when I put my goggles on versus being cold. Like there's a whole bunch of different factors, I think, that led to my goggles fogging. But yeah, so that was kind of annoying. Put that in the bin. But yeah, my qualifying result from that event was like pretty good. I think I was like 0.2 behind Ollie's wall. And yeah, like right up there in the mix, which was a good bit of confidence for the rest of the week. And then surprised myself in speed and style, put the pump track in the bin. And slalom, I was going all right until I went against Jackson, and then I just crashed all week, it felt like. But in between crashing, I had like some moments of bike riding where I was like, which were like really confidence inspiring. So I don't know, I forget what the initial question was, sorry.
I was just talking about Roto.
Yeah. Like all in all, I felt like I rode really good when I was not on the ground that week, pretty much. But I just felt like I spent a lot of time crashing, which feels like up until now I've broken my wrist. It kind of feels like that's what my years consisted of. Like I just feel like I've crashed all year, which I guess is how I know that I'm I'm on that tipping point of like finding where my limit is and kind of like unlocking another gear or whatever, another level, whatever you want to like call it. But because until like I haven't crashed in ages, really. Like I don't often crash, which is probably good, but it's probably also a reflection of exactly how I've felt, which is like I'm just always pretty comfortable with what I'm doing. Whereas this year I've spent a lot of time being like uncomfortable and pushing my limits. And as a result of that, I spent a lot of time on the ground.
Well, like after Roto, you came back, right, for Thredbo? And then you had that.
Well,
after
was it after or was it before? I think it was before.
The Thredbo Nuts is in March.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Or did you go back?
So I went, yeah, so we had the summer series. And then I flew back for, I was just.
That's right, because you missed like 2 days of practice or something because you flew for Thredbo.
No, I got the whole event.
Okay.
Yeah, for the whole thing. I got in like the day before practice started.
Yeah, the official practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I was only there for the official practice. I wasn't there the week early like everyone else.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I had the summer series, and then for Cannonball or National Champs, I'm just going to call it Cannonball.
Cannonats.
Cannonball. For Cannonball, just did a bit of FIFO work, just fly in, fly out. And yeah, thanks. That was pretty sick. Thanks to Lusty for hooking me up that week. I pretty much paid for my flights, and then they picked me up from the airport, put me in an accommodation, bought me dinner most nights, and took me back to the airport, and off I went. Like, it was pretty sick. So yeah, flew in for that. I had been after the summer series, I got really sick.
Yeah.
So I just spent like literally a week or so. That was also the tipping point where I was like, fuck, I need to sort out somewhere else to stay, because a combination of like overworking myself and being in like a not the best sleeping quarters, I just got like so fucking sick. Just like really run down, like fatigued, and like couldn't do, like if I tried to like walk to the other end of the house, I'd like have like head spins and shit. I was like, whoa. So I just got over that before flying to Cannonball. And even then I was still like, you know, when you're just managing.
Yeah.
You're like, if I push a little bit, I'm going to get sick. But right now, like at this level, I'm okay. I'm just managing my health. Yeah, so I got to Cannonball and I like hadn't ridden for a week. I was like feeling pretty weak, not feeling amazing. And then I got out on track, and like obviously that track you have to be like mentally on your A game, physically on your A game, and it will just like chew you up and spit you out if you're not.
Yep.
So I was like, knew that I wasn't, feeling that good. Did a few practice runs and confirmed to myself that I wasn't feeling that good. So right off the bat, I was like not very confident on track, and then got to qualifying, and I just like overrode everything. Was just like going too hard, obviously, and then just had that huge fucking crash. Which I've watched that back, and Dad's watched that back, and we've just like, I just watch it and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can see exactly why I crashed, and you can see exactly how I could have probably saved it. Like, I just rode into the chute, not too fast. Like, other people were going in just as fast. And the line that I had was not the best line, not the worst line. It was, other people riding the same line. And I think I just like started looking at my front wheel, and then I got like a bit squirrely and just grabbed a handful of brake. And obviously, like, if you grabbed a handful of brake, you can't turn. Like, your suspension's not working very well. And then like I just tensed up and just should have just let go of my brake and just looked at where I wanted to go. But instead I just like grabbed a handful of brake, tensed up, and looked at the fucking bunting.
Look straight at Matt Staggs or Captain Valli, whoever was inside.
And I was just like, I remember like, I like thinking back to it, I remember like as soon as I started getting sketchy, I was like, I just want to stop. I just want to fucking stop. Catch my breath, and I'll just keep going. But obviously, it was like watching it back, I'm just like, it's kind of like a pretty embarrassing crash, because it looks like a full rookie mistake kind of thing, but it is what it is.
That was such a wild spot to crash as well. It's like the worst.
Yeah, at least I made it far enough down that like I landed in the bushes. If you had a crash at the top, you'd be heaps worse off. But also I had that I got like a new was it the Rock Fight, like TLD, like chest protector. So I was wearing that, had a fresh helmet on, had like fresh knee pads on, which unfortunately I ripped. But yeah, like I had a cut from the bushes and rocks and shit, like where the chest protector finished.
Yeah, okay.
So like I'm pretty thankful I was wearing that, because I feel like without having that on, like, I don't know, I just felt like straight on my chest and my back and shit. So it probably would have been, not saying it would have been catastrophic, but I would have felt a lot more sorry for myself. Yeah.
Well, you saw like Blake from Revo's crash last year, where he just ragdolled from the top and both feet blew out. And yeah, that was wild.
I don't know if I did see that.
I'll send it.
hectic.
I'll send it to you later. Yeah, he full bounced off the rock, and yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I crashed, and then pretty much my weekend went up from there. I started having heaps more fun.
Did you race? I can't remember if you raced.
No, I didn't race. So I crashed. I know, like, I was disappointed in myself. Like, it was pretty like heavy vibes back at the house that night, because that obviously for me, like, national champs is like the only race really that I've done in like every year for the last few years. And I wanted to do good there. I know, like, Johnny and the whole Lusty family, like, that was a pretty important race for them, like, because they have a pretty big presence there. So yeah, that was like a bit of a downer that night, but you know, it is what it is. But because I'd like put so much pressure on myself, and I was so in my own head about like not feeling confident, like I didn't, just like dumb shit. I was like, oh, my bike doesn't feel good. It feels the exact same as last time you rode it. You just like, I was just weak and just not having that good of a time. So then after I like watched the video back, and I was like, I definitely like smashed my head into the ground. So I was like, I'm just not going to race. And then I just like got, I just kind of got amongst it in the pits. Like, and I actually had the Saturday, which was race day, I had a way better day than I had any other day when I was there. Or Friday night, really, because I think whip off was Friday night, right?
Saturday.
No, Saturday. Okay.
After finals.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I just was like, sweet, well, I'm here. Like, I'm not just going to go home because my flight isn't until Monday anyway. I was like, how can I like make the most of this situation? Which I feel like is what I'm doing with my wrist, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I was like, I can't race. Like, my head's not so bad that like it's too much to be around people. It was probably like a call I made to not race was like more on the tentative side than anything. Like, I didn't necessarily have concussion symptoms that were like that prominent, but for me, just like watching the video of me landing on my head, I was like,
it was pretty bad.
Probably best to play it safe. Yeah. So yeah, I was like, cool, I'll just get amongst it. So I did like the TLD bike, like the Australian account, like Instagram takeover. I did like a few other little bits of media here and there. And yeah, just got amongst the event, and it was really sick. I had an awesome day, just like talking to people, hanging out. Like, yeah, it was sick. I've never gotten to like actually experience Cannonball Festival in that way. I'd like been once and not raced when I had a broken ankle, but I'm pretty sure I just sat in the Shram pits most of the time because I couldn't really like get around very well and just drank beers with Dylan. So it was cool just like going and watching, like getting amongst the crowd, like heckling, yeah, you know, doing whatever. And then they invited me to judge the whip off, which was like highlight of my week pretty much. And yeah, because it was sponsored by Datey. So they were like, well, you're a Datey athlete. Do you want to judge the whip off? I was like, yeah, sweet. I've judged it before. Sign me up kind of thing. Like, whatever I can do, I'll do. And I walked up the judging tower and I was like, didn't know who was judging, had no idea. I was like, I'll probably just like be me and Timmy and maybe like Kai or something like it was last time I judged. Get up there and like, who was there? Minar and Petey were there, weren't they?
And Newley.
The whole syndicate were there. But yeah, get up the thing and like Minar's just like sitting on the judging couch. He's like the only person up there. And I was like, oh, hi. I was like pretty starstruck. I was like, holy shit.
Minar was starstruck.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I was like, this is pretty cool. So I sat down. Wasn't drinking beers. In that moment, I wish that I was able to drink, but yeah, sat down. It was just like having just general chats with Minar. We were talking about Joshy Cropper, And turns out Manar's Frother's biggest fan. So I was like that. I was like, that's pretty cool. And then, then Newley walked up. I was like, sweet. And then turned around, Petey's up there. I was like, fuck, this is pretty hectic. I'm just like sitting on a couch between Petey and Manar, judging a whip off, just talking shit. I was like, this is cool as. So yeah, that was like definitely the highlight. Watching Paddy Butler just absolutely go for it. And then it was a sick event. I was absolutely frothing.
That was probably one of the best whip-offs I've ever seen. Like Leroy's fronty was dumb. That was silly.
Yeah, as far as like cannonball whip-offs go, I reckon that was like definitely up there with one of the best ones for sure.
And some of the ladies, man, they were throwing so hard. It was wild.
I reckon this is the first. Well, forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is the first year I remember, like, at least in Australia, going to a whip-off and there was like more than two girls.
It wasn't just Caro and Haz.
Yeah, exactly. And there was like, some chicks doing, forgive me for not remembering your names, but there was like some girls doing some fucking legitimate whips. It was sick.
And young, like 16, 17-year-old. And that was, that's a big jump to whip.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That was sick. And then being able to award, I got to award the prizes for the whip-off at the end, which was pretty sweet as well. Yeah. Gave the winners their custom deity battle vests. So
Did old mate won, didn't he? He broke his collarbone.
Yeah, so Pat was like, we called his dad and we're like, oh, just letting you know, Pat's won. Who do you want us to send the prizes home with? And they were in the ambulance, but they were still at Threadbow. They hadn't left yet. So Paddy was like, oh, sweet, I've won. So he got himself out of the ambulance, came stood on the podium like a fucking champion, and then got back in the ambulance and went and sorted himself out.
We need more Paddy Butler. Let's be honest. The world needs more of that. He is such a lord.
Yeah, I was stoked just to see him. I was sharing a room with him that week in the Lusty house, and I was like, I didn't know that he was even coming. Because I didn't know that I feel like he's still been racing kind of, but I just didn't know that he was going to be there. And I walked up the stairs to my room and I was like, fuck yeah, P-Butt's here.
I'm pretty sure his bike had more cracks in it than it did Worlds as well. That thing was...
He's still riding the Bergamont from back in the Bergamont days.
And it's so cracked. It's,
wild. More cracked now.
Yeah, he definitely didn't land straight.
No, not once. He landed straight enough though.
Yeah, he won. Who cares?
That's it.
You went back to NZ, did Roto and stuff after that. But at what point did the Vital Raw talk come into play? Because that was fucking sick.
Thank you. It's something I've wanted to do forever. Since I remember being a Grom and just watching the old Adam Brayton Vital Raws, and then obviously all the Vital Raws from the World Cups, and just thinking the sickest video ever. How did that come about? I think it was after Magazafest. Brian, who's an American fella who turns out he works for Vital. I didn't actually know that at the time, but he just sent me a couple clips from Magazafest, from the Dream Track Jam.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd followed him on Instagram for ages, and we'd kind of spoken before, but I didn't know him. So he sent me some clips, and I just hit him up and I was like, hey man, I've seen you've done some stuff for Vital. I know that he'd filmed a Vital Raw before. I know he'd ridden in a Vital Raw before, over the years. And I was like, how do these things work? Do I just get a filmer and go film one and then submit it and hope that you post it, or do you guys reach out to athletes and say, hey, we want to film a vital raw? Like, how does this work? Like, I have no idea. And he pretty much got back to me and was like, there's no, turns out there's not really like a particular formula. It's like a bit of everything. But he was like, I work for Vital. Like, I pretty much have like the key to just film them whenever I want with whoever I want. And it was like, I'd be hell keen to do one with you. So we just got stuck into it pretty much. Well, I say we got stuck into it, but yeah, we planned to do it. We filmed for like an afternoon in the bike park, did like literally 2 laps down Skyline on my downhill bike in the afternoon. And then that was like right after summer series, maybe. I think so. And then I got really sick. We were supposed to film it all in that 1 week because he was leaving Queenstown.
Yeah.
Then I got like real sick, so I couldn't. We tried to go film Coronet, and I was like, nah, dude. Luckily, it was real windy that day, so I didn't feel as bad, but I was like, I fucking can't do this. So then we kind of just like, he was traveling with his girlfriend around New Zealand, and they were kind of just bouncing off of Queenstown every so often.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we just had to time it to be like, sweet, well, I'm going to be back from, we finished filming it after Rotorua, but we started filming it like, in like February or March, like weeks before. Took us like over a month to actually film it, but the actual filming time was probably about 1 day.
Yeah,
all
classic.
combined. So yeah, we just had to time it for like when we were both there and free. And then went out like one afternoon after I'd finished work at the cafe and went and filmed some stuff at Dream. And then we're kind of like, oh, it'd be pretty sick to get like a trail bike segment in there. So then, we spent like, it was after Rotorua. So I had 7-speed on my trail bike. So I was like, I can't really go trail riding, but how about like we'll go up Queenstown Hill where most of the time you like push up anyway because the climb is just like fucked. So I went up there and like that whole trail bike segment, everything in it except for the jump at the end, which I like sessioned a fair bit, like all those rock rolls, all like the slappy corners and everything. That was the first time I'd ridden any of it was like, we just did like one take of everything. And that was the first time I'd ridden any of it. So
that's wild.
That was like, I remember one bit, it was like a clip where I come into shot and I'm like sliding like into like a little catch berm. And then it's kind of like scandy, like flicky little between berms, like past the camera.
Yeah. And
then if you watch like pretty closely, I like jump on the anchors pretty hard, like just before the shot finishes. And I had obviously had no idea what was coming up. We just stopped further up. Brian had like ridden the track like maybe twice or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm pretty sure there's some corners down here. Like I'll just go set up and like you just come past.
You do you.
I was like, sweet. And like as I was coming into the first turn, I was like, oh fuck yeah, like these look like sick little ruts. So that went pretty hard, and then the ruts just finished, and I was like, fuck, and just grabbed like a handful of brakes because I'd see like a drop or something coming up. Like pretty much just crashed into the bushes like just out of shot, and then looked at like what the drop was that I saw coming. It was just like a full rock roll.
Fuck.
Like if I had have gone off that at speed, like I would have been absolutely fucked. So yeah, it was like pretty loose way of filming because like I don't want like any clips to go into anything that I'm not stoked on. So like I'm going to go as hard as I can. And riding like a pretty high consequence trail on my trail bike that I'd never ridden before and filming it was like pretty full on. But I'm stoked on how that thing came out.
Yeah, it was sick to watch. I was really happy to watch that and wanted to go ride afterwards.
That's perfect. I just like wanted, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure that I got like a pretty good mix of everything. Ideally, I would have filmed some stuff at Gorge, but I wasn't really feeling like I didn't feel very comfortable at Gorge yet.
Yeah, that looks like a whole different beast.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. If I had my BMX there, I probably would have been sweet, but took me like pretty much the entire summer. Took me pretty much until I got back home, and then I put some different bars on my dirt jump bike to actually start feeling comfy on it. So yeah, kind of scrapped that, but I was happy to still got some bike park stuff, got some downhill bike stuff, got some trail bike stuff, some like tech stuff, and then obviously my favorite section is the dream track section for sure.
Boosting to the moon.
Yeah, I wish that I'd started flipping stuff whilst we were filming, because that would have been a nice little addition. Like the no foot can that's the ender was like I learnt no foot cans. I've done like a handful over the years, but never really like learnt them to the point where they're on lock. Like every time I do them, I have to relearn them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I relearnt no foot cans on that jump whilst we were filming, because I was like, fuck, I need something cool to like end with. And the shot that we thought of was like from that top side angle. I was like, well, if I take my hand off, it's like the other hand, and I've already done a tire grab. I was like, if I do a toboggan, like it's the other hand. Like none of the tricks that I already had in the bag worked for that angle. So I was like, oh, like maybe I could do a no foot can. Like I've done a couple, and I think that one that went in the video was like the second one I did.
So sick.
Yeah, pretty sick. Pretty pumped on it.
And then you end up at Cairns, pretty much. Or you came down to Melbourne, right, and did some work.
Yeah, so had like 3 weeks in Queenstown after Rotorua, which the first week of that we like knocked that Vital Roar out of the way, then started training for the biggest race of the year, which was Wakatipu World Champs, which is like so Vertigo Bikes, like the bike shop in Queenstown, they've been running a local club series forever. Like 4 or 5 rounds over summer, which I managed to miss every single one of them. Just because I was like away or at a different event, or I was in Rotorua or whatever. But then, I was around for the final one, which was they just like put world champs on. Like your race plate has like the world champ stripes and everything on it. Like it's pretty funny. Biggest race for bragging rights in New Zealand, it feels like. And managed to come away with the gold, which to be completely honest, I was like very surprised with. And I think what helped me was that I practiced different to everyone else. Most other people had raced the track before, and there was definitely like some pretty fast boys there. It was the same track that they raced for the summer series last year, which you would have like seen. It was wet, and it was also crate day, so it was like pretty loose. Everyone had raced it before, but aside from that, like most of the track is closed off generally. And it was also school holidays. It was also the end of Easter, and they're also renovating the gondola. So with that, having a race on, and like basically long story short, the lift queue was fucked. Took you like I got in line to do my first run before the lift opened, and by the time I got to the start of the track, it was like halfway through practice already.
Shit.
Took me like an hour and 20 minutes to get up there, but the track was short. They only used like a half of the hill, so it stopped like just below like midway in the bike park. So I was broken into 2 sections and just like practiced the top half, and then just did push runs, like pretty old school approach, just like pushed back up the fire road, did another run, pushed back up the fire road, did another run, sessions and bits, did another run of that half, and then did like 6 runs of the top half plus like a few session bits. And until I was like, fuck yeah, this is pretty dialed. And also I was like, oh, I'm halfway through the half of practice that I have left. And then moved on to the bottom bit. And so I did the same there, like session bits, and just did push runs, did like 4.5 laps at the bottom or whatever. And then pushed right back up and did a full top to bottom practice run. And then went and lined up for my race run pretty much. And everybody else did like maybe 2 runs that were separated by like, you know, an hour in between each one. So I think I practiced quite well. And like, I was taking this shit fucking serious. Everyone was there like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I was like, I'm here to win. So yeah, like I felt pretty good on the bike. I'd like made some changes, which felt nice. Like I thought that I had too low of a front end like all summer, and I kept like raising it up and being like, yeah, that feels better. But then just before that race, I just like took like 10 mil or like 15 mil out of my stack height, just like slammed my bars and was like, fuck, I've been going the wrong way. Like I needed my bars to be lower. So yeah, they just like felt pretty good on the bike. Knowing that like I had a history over the summer of like my qualifying run being like real good, and my race run being dog shit. And this race format was like 1 run, win it or bin it, like no seeding, like self-seeded, 1 run, winner takes all kind of thing. So because of that, I was like, oh, sweet. Like I know that I have the ability to put down a good qualifying run. So I made my qualifying run a race run and didn't feel like I did anything special, just like rode really well from top to bottom. And through the bottom chute, I was like, I didn't feel that fast, didn't feel that slow, whatever. And like a few other people that mentioned, they're like, oh, you didn't look like anything special. Like my friends that will just tell me how it is. They're like, yeah, whatever. I was like, yeah, I had fun. Like, sweet, cool, is what it is. And they're calling out the podium, and I was like, when they called out third and second, I was like, oh yeah, no, like I'm out the back kind of thing. And then yeah, lo and behold, fucking number 1, baby. Yeah, that was like pretty cool way. And then I think for the next week or something, I left Queenstown. So that was like a pretty sick way to finish off my summer there. Yeah. Even though that race means nothing, like for me, it meant everything. It was like just a nice little like cherry on top. And for me, it was nice to go and like just use it as a practice race, basically. And have everything actually work out and take home a gold medal at the end of it.
World Champs jersey.
Didn't get a jersey, but got a World Champs trophy and a medal and bragging rights.
That's all that matters, right?
All that matters. I think it was pretty sick actually. The Atlas Beer Cafe, like the bar that they help out, they sponsored the event and like they help out with the mountain bike club, and like in return, most like that's the place you go for a beer after kind of thing. Like, I booked a table there, a few days after just for like some leaving drinks and dinner, and Paul, instead of putting my name on the reservation, we just like rocked up to a table and had a reservation sign that just said Wakatipu World Champ. that was like pretty cool.
It sounds like one type of place.
Yeah. So that was pretty sweet. But then I came home, went and worked in Omeo for a bit because I was pretty broke all summer, but I was very broke at that point, and I was like, fuck, I need to figure out how to afford to go overseas for the rest of the Crankworx season. So yeah.
But surely while you're over there winning, world champs and competing in roto and doing all that stuff, you're earning millions, right? You're a pro rider.
Next question.
How much do you reckon that trip cost? Just out of interest.
fuck, 30 grand, probably.
That's about right.
Yeah, like, and that's like living pretty on the cheap. Yeah, probably something like that, I reckon.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like, when I kind of got to a point where I was like, fuck, I got to ask, like, I need some serious help from dad to like pay rent here. I was like, hey, like asking him if I could borrow some money, and he was just like, he's like basically like, is there another option? Like, have you, making sure I'd thought about it. I wasn't just like, fuck, dad, help, need money. And I like sat down and wrote a budget for the next month that I was planning on being there, which included, this is like just before Rotorua, I think. So it included going to Rotorua. And yeah, I like worked out the budget and was just like, holy fuck. It was still like, it was going to be like another 12 grand or something just for like the last month I was there, including like flights to Rotorua, like my entries for Roto, like everything else, and then a flight home at the end. So, yeah, it was fucking pretty expensive. And Queenstown's just like an expensive place to live, full stop.
Yeah, it looks ruthless for prices.
Cost of living there's high. Rent isn't actually ridiculous. Like, I was just looking at just like rentals in the Gold Coast, like just to get an idea. And like, it's like a similar price there for a room as it is in Queenstown. But like groceries are more expensive. Like fuel's like double the price.
Yeah, right.
Your like hourly rate, if you're working, like wages are lower.
Of course.
But yeah, it's pretty ruthless.
So you had to come back and then just work your ass off for 3 weeks in Omeo?
Yeah, I went and worked in Omeo for Common Ground Trails, just helped out there. I kind of come back and was like, asked for a bit of a pay rise on what I'd been earning previously with other companies. But I was like, in return for that, like, I'm not going to be picky on what I'm doing. Because if I can like earn some good money, I'll build whatever you need me to build, kind of thing. So yeah, I went and worked there for like 3 weeks, which by the time I got back and actually got stuck into that, I was like, fuck, 3 weeks isn't actually that much. I thought like I had more time. And then And then pretty much spent like most of what I earned there on going to Cairns. And then, yeah, was planning on coming back, working for another 3 weeks, and then selling my downhill bike because I just got a fresh downhill bike. And I don't know, that was supposed to fund going to Innsbruck, but like, I don't know. There's a bit of a silver lining in breaking my wrist in Cairns because like now I'm not really financially stressed anymore. I'm not going to put myself in more debt, and I've got time to just like sit down and make a pretty dialed plan for next year.
So what actually happened when you broke your wrist? Because I mean, you did a pretty sick fast plant, but then just missed the top of the berm. But what happened like before that? Did your forks like compress hard or?
Still nothing that out. I think my forks blew up. But like my bikes are still on their way back. I just got them like road freighted, thanks to Pump and Pedals in Cairns for sorting that out for me. It cost me like only like $100 more than what it would to take them on the plane.
Yeah, it's fuck all different.
So, yeah, so they're still on the way back. So I'm kind of keen to like have a look at my bike and investigate the fork situation. But basically that left-hander, like Martha Gill crashed there as well. Like a few other people had some pretty hectic moments in that turn. and there was just like a little greasy patch, just like greasy clay. And it was right like where you pushed in, and that from the shadow of everything, like that bit just like didn't really get sun. Like I went and looked at it the day after, and it was still greasy. Obviously, they haven't watered it in the past 24 hours because the event was over, but just a bit of a greasy patch. I'm not saying that's all to blame. Like I rode down that lane multiple times before it, and I didn't crash. So did heaps of other people. But I think that crash started before that run even took place.
Yep.
So I'd completed my goal for speed and style, which was like make it into the top 8, make it on TV. Went against Mike Ross, and I was like, fuck, got to pull out the big guns here.
So you didn't do any cashies or?
I did my first flip X up against Mike Ross. I've never done like a flip combo ever in my life.
Yeah. Well, he was doing cashy combos next year.
Yeah, but I hadn't. Well, I knew I had him covered on speed. I was like, I have to like try and put in like the max time differential of like 2 seconds, and then I was like trying to do the maths in my head of like what my tricks that I'd already done were worth, and I was like, fuck, that's only like a second. So if I do a flip X up, maybe it'll like if I think if I hadn't have crashed on that 360, it would have been like fucking close as to who went through. But anyway.
But he's still fast. Like to put a second into him, still pretty hard.
Yeah. I felt like I was hauling ass on that
yeah. Like, oh, you can actually ride.
Turns out. But in my head anyway, I was kind of like, sweet. Like the rest of the week is like all events that I'm kind of comfortable with, because like that was the scariest. Like feels like the least balanced risk versus reward factor. I was like, for a little bit, I was like, fuck speed and style. This event sucks. I've kind of like grown to love it now. But anyway, so after that was done, I was like, cool. I've like achieved a goal for the week already. I was like, the rest of the week is kind of like safe. I was like, dual slalom, like I know that I can push in that event, but nothing catastrophic is going to happen. Turns out. And then like I felt good on the downhill track and pump track. I was like, I'm just doing that for like points for the overall basically. So I was like, cool, like we're on for the rest of the week. And then in my first qualifying run, for dual slalom, I like missed the timing beam at the end. So they had like the way the flags were set up, they finished like the timing beams were like offset in the finish corral, if that makes sense. So like the left-hand lane, the timing beam was like right against the fence. And then there was like the middle beam. And then the timing beam for the right-hand lane was like 2 meters in from the fence. And obviously I'd practiced it. And like I said before, like it's on me because there's plenty of other people that didn't do what I did. And I don't know, I just like went around the flags, went like right, left, right, and then just like turned too much right and went around the wrong side of the timing beam, and then had to like stop and walk back around. I think Dylan Crane did the same thing. So I was like I was like 29th after my first qualifying run. And I was like, fuck, I got to like claw back some time somehow. So I just lined myself up against Bass, my second qualifying run. And I was like, I don't know if I'll beat him or whatever. It doesn't matter if I beat him, but at least if I've got someone that I know is like contending for the win lined up next to me, and I can just try and hold him, that I'll like put down a good time and hopefully get like a better matchup for my first round of 32 or whatever. So I was like pushing like hard as fuck in my second qualifying run to try and claw back a bit of time. And like, as you can see, like in the video, like coming into those final turns, I was like, right, I was with Bass. So like, obviously I was like on a pretty good pace. I just pushed into that turn, and watching it back, like the way that how violently I got flung, I think that potentially my forks have like exploded, like the rebound adjustments like gone or something, because it just like sprung me back like a pogo stick. But from what it felt like, luckily I didn't hit my head in this one. I pushed into the turn, and my front started to go, so I started like adjusting my weight distribution to like account for that. But then it like gripped up, obviously, because it
sure did
moved past the slippery point, gripped up, and then like my weight was just in the wrong spot, and it just fucking spat me, like, yeah, just flung me. I don't know, can you, like, for the video version of this podcast, can we be playing that right now?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, like pushed in, tucked front a little bit, then it gripped up, and then like my weight. But like I've watched like frame by frame from the live stream like replay that they put on, which shout out Red Bull TV for still giving me some screen time, even though I didn't even make it to the finals.
It's probably more interesting than the finals, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I counted. I still had like a minute and a half of screen time of them just being like, Baxter crashed. God damn it. But anyway, I've like watched that angle and also the angle from the back that I posted. And you can see like the whole time I'm crashing, my head and shoulders and shit are like still going into the next turn and like looking through the next corner, like as if my brain was like, I got this. I still got this.
You're flying over the burn and you're still looking around.
Yeah, like right until like I'm fully off the bike, like I'm like compressed up like over the front of the bike, and my head and everything is like looking through the next turn, and I'm just like, you don't got this, but kudos for thinking you do. But so yeah, anyway, chewed me up, spat me out, and that's me done for the rest of the year, pretty much.
It reminded me of like there's this footage of Colin McRae, and he crashes his rally car, and as he's rolling, he shifts into first. Yeah, because he knows he'll probably land flat and just be ready to go, and you're just like in the corner,
just like, yeah, we're on. Oh no, we don't got this. But yeah, until I watched the video, I thought that I thought I was in a completely different position to what I was when I hit the top of that berm. I thought my feet had like gone over first, and I'd like put my hands out like underneath my butt, and that I'd like back slapped the top of the berm and then fell off.
Yeah, no.
But turns out I was like on my stomach, and I just put my hand out funny. You can see like exactly where my wrist dislocated in the video. And then, I was just laying on the ground and holding my wrist, and then the medic came over and they were like, oh, what's wrong? And I was like, I've dislocated my wrist. And they were like, oh, well, we'll take you to the medic tent and we'll find out. I was like, no, I was like, look, it's dislocated. And they were like, oh, yep.
I love that moment, hey. It's so good.
So that was that, pretty much. Luckily, like, I don't know, I kind of don't really want to dive into the whole hospital bullshit, but I'll give you a quick brief overview. They kept me there for the weekend. Luckily, they let me out to go watch the event still, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did like a little interview during the downhill live stream, if anyone saw it.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Got to see in the broadcast truck.
Oh, sick.
Fucking hectic.
Yeah, it doesn't look chill.
Now I understand why they can't just have unlimited cameras on course.
Yeah.
Because like they literally have like a screen in there for every single camera and a person that mans every single screen. And there's like, it looks like a control panel out of a movie. And there's a dude being like, camera 2, pan up, camera 3, get ready to zoom out as the rider comes to, and it's just fucking hectic. So that was still pretty cool. Got to like at least experience the event. Then Monday, I get surgery on Tuesday, I think. Maybe it was Wednesday. Anyway, I actually had the same surgeon operate on me who fixed my right wrist when I crashed there at the World Cup back in 2016.
He's like, you still haven't learnt to ride yet, have you?
Well, it was like best case scenario because he is a fan of the sport. He is a mountain biker himself. I saw him at World Championships when we were there. I saw him at Crankworx last year. Like, he always comes and watches the event. Like, he was there when I crashed. Like, he walked over to the medic tent with me and was like, sweet, well, like, I'll help you sort this out. He's actually works in a private practice, but he came, like, I asked for him to do my surgery, not knowing that he was in a private practice. I don't have private health insurance, which I'm going to now. But yeah, he came and did my surgery in the public system so that it wouldn't cost me. And yeah, so just knowing that, like, he's a mountain biker, he understands, like, when I say that I'm going to return to bike riding, he knows what that means. So that was like best case scenario. Because before we confirmed that, they were just going to send me back to Melbourne and be like, just go to the ED. We'll send you with your x-rays and sort yourself out. And I was like, fuck, not very excited by that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Dr. Loveridge. Anyone in Cairns that needs their wrist fixed, hit him up. Yeah, so he did my surgery, spent like another day there or whatever, and then flew home, and here I am.
Sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another wrist.
Yeah.
But like, watching that, like, it looked pretty brutal. You could have got so much worse. I saw your head hit, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I think my head definitely like hit the ground, but I think it was more the visor of my helmet. And because I had so much like forwards momentum, it more so just like, I don't know, brushed past.
Yeah, you like skimmed it.
Like, I didn't actually like have any impact on, well, doesn't feel like I had any impact like on the actual ground, which is good. But yeah, the diagnosis is that I had can't remember what it's actually called, but it's like a lunate dislocation, which means my wrist kind of like moved like forwards and up, and was like sitting on top of the end of my radius and ulna.
Sick.
So, but the lunate bone, which is like the one in the center of all your hand bones next to your scaphoid, that stayed in place. So that means all of the ligaments surrounding that, like that attached to my scaphoid, that attached to everything else, all tore. I cracked the lunate in half, or not quite in half, but close enough. And the end of that bit of bone that broke off flipped like totally upside down.
Sick.
I fractured the end of my radius, and I also fractured my scaphoid. And when the ligaments pulled off of my ulna, they like took some bone fragments with it. So long story short, my wrist just exploded.
Yeah. It's like a microwave lasagna, just completely thrown on the floor right now. Yeah.
Pretty much, eh? Yeah, they put it back in on the Friday night, and then had surgery that following week. And now I have, whilst they were operating on it, apparently they had to re-dislocate my wrist so they could get like a good angle to flip the bits of bone back around and screw them back on. Dr. Loveridge said that he had some screws air freighted up from Brisbane because they didn't have screws small enough there. To like screw.
He could have just gone to Bunnings.
Yeah, screw my lunate and everything back together. So now I have a bunch of wires holding my hand stable while the ligaments regrow. And then I have a plate in there, which I think is going to stay in. And then that's like on my radius. And then I also have some screws, in my scaphoid and some screws in my lunate, which I think they'll stay in. So in like 8 weeks, I get the wires taken out. Went to the hand therapist this morning, and she was like pretty happy with how much movement I've like been able to maintain like in my fingers and stuff. So yeah, in like 3 weeks, once I get the stitches out, I can start like actually moving my wrist apparently. I can't do any physio, but like I can kind of just at least gently move it. which is earlier than I expected. But I'm thinking this whole process is going to be, 3 months or longer before I'll be back like competing at least.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, but because my main focus for this year was Crankworx, and I can't do either of the Crankworx events. So, this is the first time where I've had like nothing to rush back for. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's going to take as much time as I need. If that means I'm off the bike for a bunch of months, then so be it. But like, just going to take my time, get it back 100%, and then once it's back at 100%. Go hard from there, pretty much.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Go win world champs in Roto again.
Yeah, I want to. I feel like I did just enough this year in the Crankworx circuit to kind of like establish my name in that scene, but also for me to know which bits of which events I suck at, and quite specifically how I can train for them. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for Crankworx next year. Like, I feel like with a full summer of like pretty focused training, I'll be able to come back and be like pretty competitive straight away. Hopefully. See what happens.
How have your sponsors been with like the crash and pretty much wiping your season out? Like, it's big part of your plans, I guess, big part of your selling points for most sponsors.
No one's really said anything yet. Like, I actually saw, so random, I saw Johnny from Lusty in the lobby of the hotel that I stayed in the night before I flew out from Cairns, on his way to the airport as I was checking out to go to the airport myself. And I didn't know that he was up there. He wasn't at the event. He was actually doing like a adventure bike tour from Cairns to Cape York or something.
Yep.
And he was on his way back from that. I had no fucking idea. So that was pretty random, but I got to talk to him. Like, he's all cool with it. Daryl from Canyon, he's supported me through a bunch of injuries over the years, so I doubt there's any hard feelings there. But I'm like pretty keen to make sure that like I use this time as wisely as I can, both to like get my wrist sorted and kind of maintain some kind of training, but also to put myself into some situations that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to. So planning on like going to some local state races. Like, I'm going to go to the second round of King of Ballarat in a few weeks, and just like stay involved in the scene, but just in a different capacity. So I won't be racing, obviously, but if there's the ability to take some grommets for a track walk at a VDHS, or to like I've been toying with some ideas for like some fun little events, which I'm not going to say too much more on in case nothing ever happens, but I'm still like trying to stay as active as I can, and if anything, it gives me an opportunity to be more involved in like the local community than I otherwise would have been. So I think with that kind of stuff, and with like some cool content ideas that I have that I can still do one-handed, like
OnlyFans.
Yeah, hey,
OnlyFans.
I think with all that kind of stuff, like I'll still be able to like provide as much value to all of my sponsors as if I was going overseas racing. It'll just be just in a different capacity, I suppose.
You're not going to be working for a while, so you're going to have heaps of free time.
Yeah. Well, Common Ground have kind of offered for me to, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. They've offered for me to come up to Omeo like a few days a week, or however much like I kind of feel like I can, just to do some training with the crew, because they've got a pretty big team on up there, and just with the nature of any trail building company in a place like with a project like that in a remote place, like you're just going to end up with a fair few staff that are like inexperienced, like maybe it's their first time doing it professionally, or they're just locals that actually have no trail boating experience. So whilst I can't operate a machine or something, they've kindly offered for me to just come up there and do a few days training with the crew. So I can kind of still work a little bit. But I'm just waiting until I'm not in pain before I make any decisions on that.
Yeah, or the painkiller, like you're not in pain and the painkillers wear off. Yeah. Oh, I'm actually in pain.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really been trying not to take painkillers because they just make me feel shit. So, and I'm not in heaps of pain, but it's like, it's uncomfortable enough that I wouldn't want to be out in the cold on site for 8 hours.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sick, dude. Should we start wrapping things up?
Yeah. How long have we been going for?
About an hour and 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a short one.
Yeah, easy.
What are we going to talk about? I guess like this might be a cool one. What advice would you give to someone that's freshly injured, and how to kind of stay positive and focus on some positivity when you're injured, just like at the start, because it's pretty fresh for you, right? Been
just
over a week.
Of the 2 weeks. A week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know, whatever it is. Fuck, where do you even start with that? I've obviously had a few injuries over the years, so it seems like every sort of 3 years I have a decent one.
You got to pay your taxes, dude.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like for me, the hardest bit that like gets me down is like, it's really nice to have a bunch of messages from people checking in or whatever, but they're also like the worst bit sometimes when it's people being like, oh man, it sucks that you got hurt, or like, spewing for you, like, it sucks or whatever. It's like, well, it was actually not really that down about it, but yeah, well, now you mention it, it does kind of suck.
Yep.
So it's kind of like filtering that stuff, but I've always managed to kind of stay positive, and the best way that I've ever been able to do that with like any situation, whether it be an injury or you get fired from your job or fucking whatever it is, like I feel like there's always some kind of silver lining to it. So whilst it hasn't exactly presented itself right now, there's already some things that I've like put my foot in the door of, and opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise even had the option to explore, that unfortunately I can't say anything about these, but well, not yet anyway, but yeah, there's some like really exciting things that I wouldn't have otherwise they wouldn't have even crossed my path. So I feel like you can always make the most out of any situation, and there's always some kind of silver lining to be found. So as long as you just like try and make the most of, like, just because I'm home now and I can't ride doesn't mean like I can't go and do stuff. There's always like something else that you can like focus your energy into, or like something that you've been ignoring for ages because you haven't had time because you've been riding, that now like all of a sudden you've got time to go and do that thing, or like go and see that place that you wanted to go on. So whatever it is, like there's always something else to look forward to. That's like, that's how I get through things. I feel like I just rambled for a bit there, but
no, it makes sense.
Just knowing that like, just because one door shut, like doesn't mean that you can't just open the one next to it and go and explore that kind of thing.
See what happens. Yeah,
see what happens. Like take everything with like a pretty open mind, and like, I can't go race Crankworx, but there's some pretty cool other opportunities that I'm now going to be home for, and who knows, through like going to the local races, I might meet somebody that knows somebody that opens up another door, or whatever it is. Like there's always going to be something else to look forward to. So
100%. And last question, what have you been digging music wise lately? Had anything good?
That one's been, I've been going like actually exploring a fair bit. Still the still the classic, like just a bit of like 90s punk, but been listening to, obviously by default being in Queenstown, got sucked into the drum and bass a little bit.
Yep.
Mainly just like some liquid kind of drum and bass stuff. And kind of going back down like the 90s kind of old school hip hop route. So like Del Funky, Homo Sapien, and like that kind of that kind of vibe a little bit more again. Just like some cruisier stuff. But yes, on top of that, there's a whole bunch. Like I just drove to Omeo and back yesterday to get like some of my stuff. Like I left my iPad and stuff, and for most of the way there, I was just listening to like AC/DC and Motorhead.
Classic. Yeah. AC/DC radio on Spotify.
Most
played by Baxter.
Yeah, I've got a playlist called I'm gonna ruin the camera here, but I've got to get this up. It's called Maydena.
Sick.
Yeah, that's just only AC/DC and Motorhead. But yeah, been exploring a little bit. I'll probably like have a bit of time to dive into some new music while I'm here. So if anyone's got any suggestions, hit me up.
Will do. So send you some random shit.
Yeah.
Sick, dude. Well, let's call it there. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Good to chat again. Yeah, well, fuck. Maybe while I'm bored, I might just come over to Adelaide for a bit. Who knows?
Come build our state champs track or something. That'd be sick.
Yeah, well, you organise it. Let me know.
Easy, man. Well, enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go, guys. Thanks so much for having a listen. I hope you enjoyed catching up with Baxter. As per usual, thanks to the supporters, Trek, Franked, Fist, Shred, Lead Out Sports, Taylor Trails, and Dirt Surfers. These guys are amazing supporters, and without them, I wouldn't be around. If you want to support those that support us, jump over to the web store, use Beyond the Tape or Beyond the Tape 10. One of those codes will work at checkout. And yeah, get yourself a bargain. If you want to support the podcast and you want to throw some cash around, tell your mum, tell your nana, tell your dad, tell your polar bear, tell whoever, and let them know about the potty. Going to have a few big weeks coming up. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and look forward to seeing you on the flip side.